Hello, everybody. As you can see, Steve and myself are sharing the screen here because, of course, we share the Ammerdown conference, which is what we're going to be talking about now. So, hi, Steve. How are you?
Hi Penny, I'm still alive and I have to do this because I do this every time I'm on video. Hello world.
Well, I'm talking astrology is my usual beginning, but anyway, we are talking astrology. We're going to be talking about a conference that we'll be doing and holding jointly in Somerset in April of 2026. In fact, the exact dates are April the 2nd to April the 5th. It is the second time that we put this conference together. The first time was February 2025, and it was quite a baptism of fire because neither of us had actually put together a conference before. We might have appeared in conferences and we might have had all sorts of input on other people's get togethers, but never actually started from scratch. And it was just such a wonderful experience, really. Not exactly, or not only just because we were talking astrology and there was so much that was, that came up during the course of our talks that was taking us into areas of mutual interest, but also of interest to those, obviously, who were taking part in the conference. But it was really the mingling of everybody. People came from all over the world and we all got together. We all, once we'd down tools for the day, we'd had dinner, then we'd gather together in the bar. And I think the world was set to rights during that time. And we
Definitely.
really learned from our first conference that what we needed more than anything else was a little bit of extra space so that that part of the proceedings could really have time to flourish. So we had more time to talk to each other, discuss all aspects of astrology, but in a very kind of relaxed setting. Whereas, of course, whenever you're giving a conference and you're giving talks, those talks are put across in a way where you're putting across your ideas. But we learnt that we needed a little bit more time. And we also learnt that Steve and I are very good together. We enjoy working together. We like each other and we bounce off each other. And so we're devoting a little bit more time every day after dinner where the two of us will be hosting, if you like, but that means everybody has an opportunity to talk to us about different things and we'll raise a few different topics. So that's really how Ammerdown works. It's in an absolutely beautiful setting, very mystical. It's a beautiful old house, and it's in grounds in a kind of forest and fields. And the whole ambiance lends itself to inquiry into the divine, really. It's that kind of place. And while this year, February, when we did it the first time, it was very wintry. The crocuses, the croci were just beginning to poke their heads up. We shall be there really in spring. So it does offer us, a really beautiful time of year in a beautiful place to really come together and really expand our astrological understanding. We'll probably think of other things that I should tell you, but for all the details of this conference, they'll be in the description box underneath. So just click on the link there and it'll take you to, well, it'll actually take you to astrolutely.com, which is my website, but it will be there giving you details, costs, and all the things that you need to know about joining us at this very special retreat. Really, it is extremely special. So, Steve, I've dominated this part of our little announcement. What about you?
Well, I think she should also mention that apart from the individual lecturing sessions we're going to be teaching and the joint ones, all the food will be, as before, totally vegetarian. And there will be ample time, both in the bar in the evening as well as during the day, for conversations about astrology, whether it's in small groups or individually. We'll make ourselves available. And I'm really looking forward to decoding the divine too. It should be a. It's going to be difficult to improve on last year, but if anyone can do it, we can. So I'm
Yeah,
really looking forward to it, and we've got some spectacular workshops lined up for you.
I think we do. And last year, or well, of course, it's still this year as we're talking, we had Neptune in a very prominent position. It was on the midheaven at the time we started the conference. And it did play a part in taking us into very mystical kind of realms, didn't it? Whereas this time we have Chiron
Mm.
on the midheaven. And I think that's going to be fascinating because even though we've known about Chiron for, well, how many? Nearly 40 years now. It's still something that a lot of astrologers wrestle with. And I think making this a sort of dominant theme in the conference is going to be very interesting with what it brings up and what it inspires in a way in everybody there. And of course, the way we present our material.
I think that with Chiron as the not so much the ruling planet of the whole conference, but the most significant planet, it will cast a theme. And these days, I tend to look less at Chiron as the healing and wounding, and more in terms of integration, assimilation, and holism, and
Yeah,
helping
very
people become
interesting.
more unified with themselves.
Right, right. Well, I'm sort of looking at it in a way for, especially in a natal chart, it's a sort of thing that is in a way a gift. It points to where our gifts are in a way. But the reason we've got that gift comes with a cost, or it's that there's some aspect to it that's a painful thing. And oh, we're going to, these are spoilers, aren't they? We wait to hear more. Come join us in April.
So, yeah, we hope you can join us. We have still some tickets left, residential.
Yes, we do, because a lot of people who were there last year wanted to come again. But I would say there's space. Don't feel held back. In fact, we'd love to have you.
We would, and there's also non-residential tickets
Yeah,
available as well for people who
yeah,
want to stay in the local area but not at the event. But as I
yeah,
say, all these details will be available through the links if you're at the bottom of this video, and you'll be directed to Penny's site where you can find everything,
yeah.
including the
And
descriptions of all the workshops.
yeah, and I was thinking, just as we've been talking now, the topics we're going to go through. Steve, you've got some really, really interesting topics, haven't you?
In a nutshell, Penny, I like to think so. I'm going to be talking about returns of all types and sizes, from for solar return and lunar return to the Saturn return via Jupiter and Mars, and I might even touch on the Uranus return, seeing as I'm getting older and it's getting a little bit closer. Um, I've got this thing in this last year. I've really developed my ideas on the Zenith and Nadir, or the midheaven and the IC, and their rulerships of the fourth and tenth houses. So this is something I really want to expand on. I've also I'm one of a punk generation. I don't do heroes, but one of the heroes I don't have is Nicholas Culpeper, the greatest herbalist and one of the greatest astrologers of all time. And his works have empowered so many astrologer healers over the centuries. So I want to do a workshop on him. And I'm also developing my own ideas, well, copying ideas from people like John Michel, Robin Heath, and John Martineau, and taking on new ideas around the geometry of the solar system. So I'm going to be presenting a lot of diagrams on the patterns in the solar system that are only recently becoming more and more apparent. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting some intelligent feedback from the people there.
That's really fascinating. And also, what was interesting is that independently, we came up with ideas that are actually very compatible with
Yes.
the others. So it's interesting. I mean, you're talking about the geometry of the solar system, and I think because in 2025 we had these extraordinary patterns all the time, these kites, these cradles, these mystic rectangles, and they were constant, but with some different planets within them to create the shapes. And so this sort of got me much more interested in why do patterns like this, what is their significance in almost in the bigger picture of this. You know, we have for years and years looked at, oh, well, a grand trine means this, and oh, a grand cross means that. Whereas I'm looking much more into the whole idea that whenever you've got a number of planets all resonating at the same degree or around that degree, you've got a happening, you've got an event, and it's an event of significance. So we start from that point and then move it down into looking at it natally or whatever it may be. But also on in the same way that you're getting new ideas and thinking about new ways of looking at astrology and being inspired by that. Certainly what happened at Ammerdown last year with decoding the divine one was that I started to get very interested in divination as opposed to necessarily looking at the natal chart as a map of one's personality, history, destiny, all of that. Looking at it much more as a mandala. How does that speak to you? What is the moment of astrology to do? Well, how that thinking can sort of affect your interpretation. And I don't want to give too much away here, but certainly that is a great step forward. And it's in both of my talks. The other one is about the electional chart. So you set a date, time, and place for something. But the idea of doing that, where does that go back to? It takes us right back to Hermeticism, really, in not just choosing the date and time because it appears to go with what you want to have the best influences for, but it has to do with the moment again of almost drawing down the power of those planets and influences. So it becomes a magical technique as well. So I'm going to be straying with my big Aries boots into all of that.
Brave woman. Okay. And you're doing stuff on the sixth and 12th
Yeah.
houses?
Yeah. And in a way, that really goes with you're going to be looking at the fourth and 10th and the midheaven and the IC. And I think the sixth and 12th houses are, are really rather misunderstood. People don't really get them. And one of the things that helps with the understanding of houses really is that the opposite house tells you a lot about the house you're working with because the seeds of the opposite are always in the initial one. So when we think about the 12th house being such a kind of spiritual and mystical and a very deeply mysterious area of the chart, what can the sixth house tell us about that? Well, it tells us that we do the work of spirit in the ordinary working of life and the life works that we do. We are walking towards, we are sharing that axis. We're doing the work of spirit, right? So looking at the opposite house is often a clarifier for getting to grips with something that doesn't make much sense. I mean, Virgo, the sixth house, what are we looking at? Work, well-being, and health. Oh, okay. All right. What are these disparate things? How can we put all these things together? But if you think about systems and organizing systems, health systems, working systems, life systems, the engine of the horoscope, my goodness, we start to be able to work with the sixth house and see it for what it is, one of the most important houses of the entire zodiac. Oh, well, house system.
And one thing we can promise is that both Penny and I, with considerable astrological experience under our belts, will have slightly different opinions about things. And there
Who's
will
about
be
to argue with me?
animated discussions with a lot of laughter. We always make people laugh. And it should be a really joyous event. That's one of the reasons I wanted to do it again, because everyone had so much fun.
Yes.
Everyone went
And
away and made new friends, and it's
a-
still
a-
going on now.
absolutely. And the other thing was there was a complete absence of stress. And you know how you get people who have different opinions, and therefore you've got that kind of thing going on. sort of vague feeling of discomfort. There was none of that. Absolutely everybody got the joy of that time together. And yes, it will be wonderful to have that experience again.
Wow. I must say I'm looking forward to it even more now than I was 15, 20 minutes ago. So
Okay, me too, but we've got some months to wait, so
we have. We've
we
still
have.
got another 6 months, 7 months before the actual event starts.
Yes, but in regard to if you want to come and join us, which I hope you do at Ammerdown, then you probably need to book early because if only because the best rooms go early. Not that any room isn't a great room in Ammerdown, but you can have a little bit more choice and you know that you're in there, right?
And I think after we came with very little pre-event work last year and very little advertising, we came very close to selling out last year. So it's going to be well attended. This it's not going to be a big attendance. It's going to be a select attendance. So
Intimate.
there's only going to be about 50 to 60 people there, I would imagine, at tops.
Yeah,
But it's going to be quality. We know some of the people who are coming back from last year and they couldn't wait to sign up for it, which is a great sign.
really
Yeah.
eclectic.
So,
Yeah,
but there's going to be plenty of spaces for other people who want to come and join us as well. So you
yeah,
know how to get hold of us. Look down there at the end of this video.
yeah. And yes, if you can get our spirit of enthusiasm here, you can catch it.
Yeah, we can promise you
I'm
good
looking forward to
food,
seeing you.
good astrology, lots of laughter, a lovely environment, hopefully clear skies at night with telescope. Bring it,
Yeah, very good. Yeah.
and hope we see you there.
Yes. Okay. So I think that's all we have to say for the time being.
See you in a few months' time.
See you in a few months' time. Bye for now.